Nobody told Sal Reeves that the alien in Cargo Bay 7 was dying. He found out the way he found out most things on Vantara Station, by being in the wrong place at the right time with a mop in his hand and enough years behind him to recognize the difference between a situation that was someone else's problem and a situation that was about to become everyone's problem if somebody did not do something about it right now. He had been doing the overnight sanitation rotation on the lower residential ring for 11 years. 11 years of the same corridors, the same equipment bays, the same recycling stations with the same particular smell that never fully resolved into anything you could name and never fully went away. He knew Vantara Station the way you knew a house you had lived in long enough that you stopped seeing it and started feeling it. The way a specific creak in the floor told you the temperature had dropped. The way a change in the ventilation hum meant something in Sector 4 was working harder than it should. He was 61 years old and had come to Vantara Station after a career that had included factory work, 2 years in the Merchant Marine, a decade driving long-haul freight through the American Midwest, and a brief, unsuccessful attempt at retirement that had lasted 4 months before his wife told him he was driving her out of her mind and he should go find something useful to do. The station posting had been his daughter's idea. She worked in the logistics division of the Interspecies Commerce Authority and had arranged the contract with the particular combination of love and strategic management that she had inherited from her mother, presenting it as an opportunity rather than a solution to the problem of what to do with a restless 60-year-old man who did not know how to be still. He had been skeptical. He had gone anyways. He had been on Vantara Station for 11 years and had no immediate plans to leave, partly because the work suited him and partly because the station had accumulated around him in the way that places accumulated around people who paid attention to them, becoming something he understood, and that, in some quiet way he would not have described out loud, understood him. He knew where everything was. He knew which airlocks ran cold in the deep cycle, and which environmental units in the diplomatic sector needed their filters changed a week before the scheduled maintenance date. He knew which of the station's 17 cafeterias had the best coffee at the third hour of the night cycle, and which cleaning crew supervisor filed inaccurate completion reports, and which cargo bays were used for official manifested freight, and which ones the logistics coordinators used for overflow storage they preferred not to document. Cargo Bay 7 was one of the latter. He was not supposed to be there. His rotation did not include the lower cargo level on a Tuesday deep cycle. He was there because the main corridor to the recycling station on sublevel 3 had a temporary barrier up for construction work, and the alternate route ran past Cargo Bay 7, and he had taken it without thinking twice because he knew every alternate route on the station the way he knew every primary one. The bay door was not fully sealed. This was the first wrong thing. Cargo Bay 7 was used for overflow diplomatic freight when the upper storage levels were at capacity, which they had been for the past 3 weeks, while the Solvari trade delegation occupied the premium logistics space with 17 containers of ceremonial goods that had not been cleared through the cultural verification process, and were therefore sitting in bonded storage accruing fees that the Solvari delegation was contesting. The bay should have been locked. The bay was not locked. The second wrong thing was the smell. Sal Reeves had been doing sanitation work long enough that he categorized smells the way other people categorized sounds, automatically, precisely, without having to think about the classification. The smell coming through the gap in the cargo bay door was medical. Not blood, not the sharp chemical smell of trauma, but the particular dense organic quality of a body under serious biological stress, a smell he associated with hospitals And with the 2 times in his life, he had sat in rooms where someone was very ill and the illness was in the air as much as in the person. Well, he stopped. He stood in the corridor for a moment with his cart beside him. He pushed the cargo bay door opens. The bay was dark except for the emergency floor strips along the loading perimeter, which threw a low red light across the stacked containers and gave the space the quality of somewhere that had been abandoned in a hurry. On the floor beside the far wall between 2 stacked freight containers was a Silvari woman. Sal knew what Silvari looked like because 11 years on Vantara Station had given him a working familiarity with most of the spec. Why's that pass through it, not the diplomatic briefing kind of familiarity but the practical kind. The kind built from nodding in corridors and sharing cafeteria space and learning the small logistics of coexistence. Silvari were tall, gray-skinned, with elongated features and bioluminescent markings along their temples and forearms that shifted color with their physiological state. The markings on this woman were the color of old ash. She was lying on her side with her knees drawn up, and her breathing was shallow and uneven, and she had the specific stillness of someone who had stopped trying to find a more comfortable position because the energy required for trying had run out. Sal parked his cart in the corridor and walked into the bay. He crossed to her and crouched down beside her and said, in the careful, clear voice he used when he was not sure how much was being understood, "I am going to get you help." She opened her eyes. They were amber, very light, and they focused on him with an effort he could see. "No," she said. The translator in his work badge rendered it cleanly. "No," she said again. He looked at her. He looked at the markings on her forearms, the ash color of them, the way they were barely shifting at all. "How long have you been here?" he said. Her eyes moved. "2 days," the translator said. He absorbed this. "2 days on the floor of a cargo bay," he said. Her breathing shifted slightly. "It was not decided by me," she said, and the translator added a notation that the phrasing carried a passive construction that implied external agency, someone else's decision, a thing done to her rather than by her. He looked at her for a moment. Then he sat down on the floor of the cargo bay beside her, because crouching was harder on his knees than it used to be, and because he had a feeling this was going to take more than a moment and he might as well be comfortable. "What is your name?" he said. A pause. "Asina Vel," she said. "Sal Reeves," he said. "I do clean the station. Your English is good." "I was briefed," she said, "for the posting." He nodded. "Are you in pain?" he said. She considered this with a seriousness that suggested the question was more complex than it appeared. "I am in the late stage," she said. "Pain is not the primary feature at this stage." "Late stage of what?" he said. She did not answer immediately. He waited. "Among my people," she said, "there are conditions that are considered resolution events. Medical intervention at the resolution stage is considered a violation of the natural order of the condition. It is not done." He looked at her markings. He had learned, over 11 years, to read bioluminescent markers as a general indicator of physiological state in species that used them, not with medical precision, but with the practical accuracy of someone who had seen enough variation to understand the range. "The ash color was not a good color. And your people left you here," he said. "The delegation," she said, "determined that the posting had ended and that my condition was a private matter to be resolved in the manner prescribed by cultural protocol." "They left you in a cargo bay," he said. The tone of his voice was not angry. It was the specific flatness of someone who has received information that requires a moment to fully arrive. The cargo bay was the closest available private space, she said, with the particular precision of someone reciting a justification they have been given and are not fully responsible for. Sal looked around the bay. The low red light, the stacked containers, the cold floor. 2 days, he said. Oh, yes, she said. He put his hand in his jacket pocket and found the protein bar he had put there at the start of the shift and forgotten about. Oh, he looked at it. He did not know if Solvari could eat Earth food. He did not know a lot of things at this moment. Oh, he knew some things. He knew the difference between a situation where the right thing was to respect the established parameters and a situation where the established parameters were wrong. He had known this difference for 61 years and had not always acted on it as promptly as he should have, and had learned from the times he had been slow that the prompt version was better. "Are you hungry?" he said. She looked at the protein bar. "I do not know if human food is compatible," she said. "Neither do I," he said, "but we can find out. I am also going to call the medical bay." She moved. "Not much, but enough." "No," she said, and this time the word had something in it beyond refusal, a warning, a fear, something she was protecting that he could not yet see the shape of. He did not call the medical bay. Not yet. He sat with her on the floor of the cargo bay, and he asked her to tell him about the condition. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, with the specific quality of someone who has not been asked a genuine question in a significant amount of time and is deciding whether to trust the asking of it, she began to talk. The condition was called Velsara. Th in Solvari, which the translator rendered as the long unwinding, and it was a degenerative neurological process that affected approximately 4% of Solvari over the age of 60, and had no cure and no treatment that the Solvari medical establishment recognized as legitimate. There were treatments, she said, developed in the last 30 years. They are effective in approximately 70% of cases. They are not sanctioned. "Why not?" he said. "Because the resolution of Vel Sorath is considered a passage," she said, "a necessary completion. The old doctrine holds that intervention disrupts the passage and creates spiritual complications that affect the next life." He absorbed this. "And you believe that?" he said. He was not challenging her. He was asking. She was quiet for a long time. "I was raised to believe it," she said finally. "That is not the same thing," he said. "No," she said, "it is not." He looked at her markings. The ash color. The barely there shift of them. "What do the treatments do?" he said. "They interrupt the degenerative cascade," she said. "In successful cases, the process reverses partially. Enough for continued function, enough for years." He nodded. "Where would someone get them?" he said. She looked at him. "There are Solvari medical practitioners in the outer systems who use them," she said, "outside the doctrinal authority of the Home Council. They are considered heretics by the traditional establishment." "But they exist," he said. "They exist," she said. He sat with this for a moment. Then he said, "I am not a doctor. I am not a diplomat. I am not anyone who has any official standing in your cultural or medical traditions." She watched him. "But I am also not going to leave you on the floor of a cargo bay," he said. "So I need you to tell me everything you know about those practitioners. And then I need you to eat half of this protein bar and tell me if it makes you feel worse, because if it does not make you feel worse, you need the calories." She looked at the protein bar. She looked at him. He had the specific face of a man who had been told no before, and had found it informative rather than final. She took the protein bar. The next 6 hours were the most complicated 6 hours Sal Reeves had experienced on Vantara Station, which was saying something given 11 years of overnight sanitation shifts. He did not call the station's medical bay, because the station's medical bay would be obligated to notify the Solvari delegation, and the Solvari delegation had demonstrated their position on the situation with sufficient clarity that he did not expect a second notification to change it. He called his daughter. His daughter worked in the Interspecies Commerce Authority's Logistics Division and had access to the kind of cross-species professional network that 11 years of competent work in interstellar trade administration built. And she had her father's specific relationship with the concept of established parameters, which was that she respected the good ones and identified the bad ones quickly. Dad, she said, when he explained the situation in the low, careful voice he used when he was in a space where he did not want to be overheard. You are sitting on the floor of a cargo bay. Oh yes, he said, with a dying Solvari woman. Oh yes, he said, who was left there by her own delegation. Oh yes, he said, and you want me to find an unsanctioned Solvari medical practitioner in the outer systems. Oh yes, he said. She was quiet for a moment. Give me an hour, she said. He sat with Sina Vel on the floor of the cargo bay. The protein bar had not made her feel worse. This was not a medical assessment. It was information. He had found over 61 years that information was usually available if you were willing to sit still long enough to receive it. He asked her about herself. Not about the conditions. About herself. She had been a trade attaché for 31 years. She had specialized in resource allocation negotiations between the Solvari home systems and the outer station networks. She had negotiated 14 significant trade agreements that were still in active use. She had a daughter who was also in the diplomatic service, and a son who had chosen to be a marine biologist studying the ocean systems of the Solvari colony worlds, and whom she described with the specific warm exasperation of a parent who is proud of a child who did not choose the expected path. She had a garden on the Solvari home world that she had not seen in 8 months, and that she was, he noted, describing in the present tense. She had a husband who had died 6 years ago, and whom she spoke about with the particular quality of someone for whom a loss has become something they carry rather than something that stops them. He told her about his wife, Clara, and about the 4 months of retirement that had nearly finished both of them, and about his daughter, and about the long-haul freight routes through the Midwest that he sometimes missed for Reese. Zanas he had never fully articulated. She asked him why he had stopped. He said the work had stopped. She said she meant why he had stopped in the corridor. He thought about it. Because the door was not sealed, he said, and the smell was wrong. She looked at him. And then he said, because you were a person on the floor. She was quiet. That is a very simple reason, she said. Yes, he said, most of the important ones are. His daughter called back in 40 minutes. She had found 3 unsanctioned Solvari medical practitioners within transit range of Vantara Station. One was currently unavailable. One had a 6-week waiting list. One was on a station called Myrth Cross, 4 hours from Vantara by fast courier, and was available and had, when Sal's daughter explained the situation, said that she would hold a consultation slot and that someone should get the patient there soon. Sal listened to this. He looked at Sina Vel. He said, I need to move you. Do you understand what I am saying? Oh, she looked at him. You cannot, she said. I can arrange a medical transport courier, he said. My daughter has contacts. It will not go through the station's official medical system. It will not notify your delegation. You will be on Myrth Cross in 4 hours. She was still. This is outside sanctioned parameters, she said. Your delegation left you in a cargo bay, he said, and his voice was still flat, still not angry, just the voice of a man stating a fact that he thought deserved to be stated. She did not respond to that. The treatment may not work, she said. 70%, he said. Those are better odds than the floor, she said. He did not know if that was a joke. He treated it like one. Yes, he said, considerably better. She looked at the cargo bay around her, at the low red light and the stacked containers and the cold floor. 2 days. She looked at Sal Reeves, 61 years old, sanitation contractor, overnight rotation, who had stopped because a door was not sealed and a smell was wrong and there was a person on the floor. She had spent 31 years in diplomatic service. She had met thousands of people across dozens of species, in settings designed to make everything important feel significant. She had never been sitting on the floor of a cargo bay with someone who had sat down beside her for no documented reason and asked her name. She had never had someone sit down beside her at all. She realized not in the way he had sat down, not in the way that meant they were staying. Among my people, she said, there is a concept, vel amara. It means approximately the one who stays when leaving is permitted. He looked at her. It is considered the highest form of regard, she said. He nodded. How do we get you to the courier bay, he said. She assessed herself with the professional thoroughness of someone accustomed to accurate reporting. I can walk, she said, if there is support. He stood up and extended his hand. She took it. She was taller than him by a significant margin, which made the geometry of the support arrangement awkward and functional in the particular way of things that work without being elegant. And they moved through the cargo bay and into the corridor at the pace that she could manage, and he matched without comment. His cart was in the corridor. She looked at it. Your equipment, she said. He looked at the cart. It will be here when I get back, he said. They reached the courier bay through a route he knew because he knew every route on Vantara Station, using the service corridors rather than the main transit rings because the service corridors were quieter at this hour, and he did not want to have a conversation with a station official about what he was doing and where he was going. The courier was arranged by his daughter through a contact she had in the independent transit network, a small fast vessel whose pilot was a Drathian woman named Cora, who asked no questions that Sal had not already answered by the time they boarded. The 4-hour transit was not comfortable. Sina Vel was not well enough for comfort to be the relevant metric. She slept for most of it, which he had been told was normal for this stage of the condition, and he sat in the seat across from her and drank the courier's approximation of coffee and did not sleep because he did not want her to wake up alone on a vessel she did not know if she woke up. She woke up once in the 3rd hour. She looked at him. You are still here, she said. Where else would I be, he said. She looked at the viewport, at the stars in transit. I have been thinking, she said. He waited. The doctrine, she said, the resolution passage. He was quiet. My husband believed in it, she said, at the end. He found comfort in it. I sat with him and I watched him find comfort in it, and I was glad for him that he had it. She paused. I do not have it, she said. I have been pretending I did because it was expected and because it was easier than the alternative. He nodded. The alternative. Being, he said. Wanting to live, she said. He looked at her. That seems like a reasonable thing to want, he said. Among my people, the wanting is the complicated part, she said. It implies that the doctrine is wrong. It implies that 31 years of conducting myself according to a framework I have been questioning since I was 42 were 31 years of conducting myself according to a framework I did not fully believe. Well, he thought about this. Seems like you believed it enough to follow it, he said. That is not nothing. And now you believe it less than you used to. That is also not nothing. People change their minds. Usually the ones who never do are the ones who stopped paying attention. She looked at him. You say very simple things, she said. I have found they are usually the right ones, he said. She was quiet for a moment. My son is going to be very angry that I was left in a cargo bay, she said. Sal thought his son was going to be right to be angry. He did not say this. He said he sounds like a sensible person. He studies oceans, she said, with the specific warm exasperation again. Sounds like he pays attention to things, Sal said. Something moved across her face. Yes, she said, he does. Myrth Cross was a small station by Vantara's standards, a trading and medical hub in the outer system network, with the particular organized energy of a place that was busy for practical reasons rather than diplomatic ones. The practitioner was a Silvari woman named Dara Sel, who was younger than Sal had expected, and had the manner of someone who had made peace with being considered a heretic a long time ago and found the peace clarifying. She assessed Sina Vel with the focused efficiency of someone who had done this before and knew what she was looking at. She spoke to Sal in the corridor while a medical technician prepared the treatment room. You got her here quickly enough, she said. The cascade is advanced but not past the intervention threshold. He absorbed this. Also 70%, he said. She looked at him. Better than 70, she said. You found her in time. He thought about the cargo bay door not fully sealed. The wrong smell in the right corridor. A mop cart and a protein bar and 61 years of knowing the difference between someone else's problem and a situation that needed someone to do something. As he went back into the room, Sina Vel was lying on the medical platform with the Myrth Cross medical equipment doing things around her that he did not fully understand. She looked at him. You should return to the station, she said. You have been absent from your rotation for many hours. I called in, he said, personal situation. She looked at him. You called in a personal situation, she said. Yes, he said. Am I your personal situation, she said. He considered this. You are a person, he said, and the situation is personal, so yes. She was quiet for a moment. The equipment hummed. Dara Sel moved through the room with the focused calm of someone doing work they believed in. Vela Mara, Sina said quietly. He looked at her. The one who stays when leaving is permitted, she said. He nodded. You should know, she said, that in our tradition the concept carries obligations. It is not simply a description of a moment. It is the beginning of a classification. He thought about that. What kind of classification, he said. She looked at the ceiling. There is no clean translation, she said. The closest approximation in your language would be something like the person whose presence changes the shape of things. He sat in the chair beside the medical platform. That sounds like a significant thing to call someone, he said. It is, she said. He nodded slowly. Well, he said, I have been called worse. She looked at him. The ash color of her markings was beginning, very slightly at the edges, to shift. Not much. Just enough. He noticed. He did not say anything about it. He sat in the chair and he stayed, and the morning came in through the station's environmental systems the way mornings came everywhere. The lights shifting by degrees toward something that passed for daylight. The ventilation settling into its day cycle rhythm. The station waking up around them in the ordinary sounds of a place where people were living their lives. Daracel came in at the 4th hour and said the initial response was positive. She said it was early and she would know more in 12 hours. She said that the fact of a positive initial response was itself significant. LaSalle thanked her. Asina Vel was asleep. He sat in the chair and looked at her markings. The shift at the edges, that barely there change away from ash toward something warmer. His daughter sent him a message at the 6th hour. The station has noticed you are absent, she wrote. The logistics supervisor is covering for you. You have apparently done him a favor involving a blocked drainage unit that he considers significant. Also, Mom says hello and wants to know if you are eating. He's NT back, tell her yes and thank the logistics supervisor. His daughter sent back. She also says this is exactly the kind of thing you would do and she is not surprised and she loves you. He looked at that for a moment. Then he put his communicator away and sat in the chair and looked at Sina Vel's markings. The shift was more visible now. Not ash. It's not yet what it would be. Something in between, something that was moving in the direction of alive. He had, in 61 years, never once been called Vel Amara. He had been called stubborn, which was accurate. He had been called reliable, which he preferred. He had been called a good man, which Clara had said in a way that meant she intended to have an opinion about that for the rest of his life. He thought about the cargo bay door not fully sealed. He thought about stopping. He thought about the specific arithmetic of a small decision that took 4 seconds and changed everything after it. He sat in the chair. He stayed. Outside the viewport of the medical room, the stars of the outer system moved in their slow permanent arcs, indifferent and enormous and entirely unaware that somewhere on a small station in their light, something had shifted. Not the stars. Something smaller. Something that happened when one person stopped in a corridor because a door was not sealed, and a smell was wrong, and there was a person on the floor who needed someone to sit down and stay. The markings on Sina Vel's forearms were no longer the color of ash. Asal Reeves noticed. He did not say anything. He did not need to. He simply stayed in the chair and let the morning finish arriving and thought about his wife and his daughter, and a long-haul freight route through Nebraska at 4 in the morning when the road was empty, and the sky was enormous, and the world was quiet and ordinary and entirely sufficient. If this story found you today and left something with you, please like it and share it with someone who might need it. This channel exists for stories like this one, about the people who stop when they do not have to, who sit down when leaving is permitted, who stay. Subscribe if you want more of them. We will see you in the next one.